Welcome to part 2 of our conversation with Entreholic's Brad Stevens. Today, Brad tells us how to take what we've learned in part 1 about data mining and apply it in new and different ways. Also, we're going to discuss some case study specific examples of success with outsourcing. So stick with us as we jump right back into the middle of this important discussion.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
My father's actually an amazing woodworker. He created and manufactured these play kitchens for my nieces, and people went crazy about them. They loved them. And he thought, wow, maybe we could look at doing this as a business. So I said, first, let's look and see what the market is for play kitchens, which you've seen, the little mini kitchens that children play with sinks and little, refrigerators. So I hired a data scraper, and so I want you to search the entire web for all of these different search terms: play kitchens, children's play kitchens, plastic play kitchens. I want you to assemble a whole list. I want you to put the URL. I want you to put the price point. I want you to put the shipping cost, and I want you to actually get an image of the picture of it and post it. And was able to get all that information put into a spreadsheet, in 3 or 4 days for less than $20. And so we had instant
$20
intelligence. Yeah, it was just they're using a combination. So the freelancers we work with, some of them use combinations of software that they write, the bots that'll scrape and that they custom do to pull and assemble that information, combined with some manual searching in some cases. So we were able to look at and see, okay, because he was wanting to make higher end types of play kitchens, and that we were going to need to charge $800 to $1,000 and see what is the market bear out there, what is the average price point that we're going to have to compete with. And shipping was another big thing, because you're going to have to pay shipping to ship a heavier furniture grade quality play kitchen versus plastic, and want to see what that comparison was. So it's just one example. If you're looking to launch a product or a service in any kind of space, data scrape and see what all your competitors are out there. We did a similar one in the social media space. We were looking at actually going into the pet industry and offering social media management services for veterinarians, dog groomers, pet boarders, and see, is that a valid market? So was able to get a freelancer. I said, look, I want you to go scrape the web, and I want you to search any kind of marketing agency that's offering services in the pet industry. And I want you to go pull their website. Then I want you to look on their website and see what they're charging for their prices. And then if they have a downloadable brochure, I want you to download all their brochures, and I want you to put all of them in a zip file for me and send it to me. And within 4 to 5 days, for around $20, $25, I had a list of all the marketing firms that offered services to the pet industry, and I could instantly see how they're marketing themselves, what their price points were, what they were charging. And if they had a brochure on their website that was downloadable, I got a nice zip file and was able to look at all of the brochures that were out there, so I could see exactly how they're branding themselves. So instant market intelligence of my competitors.
For $25.
Right. And then you couple, so, I was talking about, you couple these things together. So now, that was one initiative. Let me see what all the competitors look like in that space. So give me a list of all of them. Now, I want to actually make a direct outbound initiative and test that market. Is this something that's of interest in that market, and what are they charging? So I had a data scraper go and data scrape a list of all the pet boarders, veterinarians, groomers, in a 3-state area. Did Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, I believe is what we did. And so I could get a good sample set. So we got about, a couple hundred assembled, within a couple of days. $20, $25, had that list, had their phone numbers. And then I have a freelancer telemarketing group that I work with, incredible firm out of the Philippines, perfect English accents, for $12 an hour. They make 25 calls an hour. And I said, look, I want you to make an outbound call campaign to this whole group of around 200. And I want you to ask them, are they currently using social media in their practice? That we're just doing a survey. Are you currently using social media? If so, what are you paying for it? So I could immediately find out very quickly, is this a market I wanted to go into? And for $100, I'm able to get hundreds of calls made, and instantly, and they filled out a Google Doc as they were completing it, telling me the responses as they made these outbound calls to find out if it would be a valid market. And what we found out, Thor, honestly, is that it's such a viral market when it comes to social media that these guys don't need anyone to manage their social media. It just organically grows and evolves from their own customer base. So before I spent a bunch of money and time trying to go and market and go after that space and offering social media services, I was able to data scrape all my competitors and do a data scrape of all the locations and outbound calling campaign and see, is this a viable market?
Man, you could even use this for a prospect. If you're selling a service that's call it $1,000 or above, you could literally just say, okay, I want to data scrape this company and the president of this company and find out a whole bunch of information prior to even meeting them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, you're really limited only by your creativity, frankly. And when you start understanding what data exists out there, you can scrape and assemble from any. I mean, one of the other techniques we talk about is, data scraping for influencers. Influencer marketing is a big one. So, if you're selling a product in a certain industry, if you go to the trade show sites for a lot of these industries and you go look on the, any industry, most part has some kind of a, trade show. And at that trade show, there are thought leaders. The main thought leaders in that industry are usually selected to be speakers. Well, those are people you want to know about your product. So if you're going into a brand new industry and if you go have a data scraper say, look, go search for all the trade show industry sites that are out there, then I want you to go and I want you to go to the speaker tab on all of those websites and I want you to look and see who the speakers are. And I want you to take that information, get their name, then cross-reference it to other places on the web and then build out a whole data set so I know who all the influencers are in, say, the manufacturing industry or, the pet industry, again, for example. If you've got a new widget for the pet industry, and if you go to all the pet industry trade shows and you scrape all the thought leaders, and then you do an outbound email campaign, reach as well as connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, saw that you were a speaker at XYZ trade show, wasn't able to make it, but wanted to see if I could get a copy of your slides and tell you about what we're doing. See, that's a creative angle. They always usually give slides away when they're speakers at trade shows. And we actually did this in an industry we were working in. And I got a 25% response rate from all the speakers that we scraped from a trade show saying, hey, wasn't able to make it, would love to get a copy of your slides and tell you about what we're doing. And they're flattered, A, because you're saying that you want to get a copy of their slides and their information to share with your team. But then B, super low cost, you're connecting with top authorities in your industry who are going to know about your product, and it could turn into an opportunity.
That is amazing.
Well, it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and kind of figuring out different techniques, but it's again, it's back to you're limited only by creativity when you know the data that's out there and people you want to connect with, or, I even use it in my personal life. For example, my wife and I, when we were going to get married, I don't want to spend 3 hours on a Saturday trying
I thought you were going to say that you were data scraping for a bride. I'm glad. All right. I'm glad we didn't have to cut that piece out of the episode.
Not that desperate, but hey.
Hey, but there might be something here, right? A new dating app. I like this. Maybe we shouldn't record this. We'll just do this offline.
Well, if the data's out there, you can get it assembled and organized in a way that's meaningful because, that's what so much is, big data that everybody talks about. It's out there and it's being able to, who can harness it, organize it, and then make it actionable. And, so the example I was just talking about, for example, my wife, we wanted to get married in kind of a rustic barn type of outdoor setting, somewhere in Georgia. And I'm not going to spend 3 hours researching on a Saturday of like all the rustic barn locations and get directories and copy and paste all the emails and the contact of the event coordinator and so forth. So I hired my outsourcer, data admin. I want you to search these terms. I want you to Google all of these, and I want you to assemble a whole list of every single place that has, rustic outdoor settings. I want you to put the website. I want you to put the email address of whoever the event coordinator is, so that I can have just a master list created. Then I can spend my time just putting an email out to all of them saying that we're interested and give me a quote for services. So saved us 3 hours on a Saturday, and I was able to get, a list for, I don't know, $10 or $15 in a couple of days.
And then you could outsource actually somebody to go ahead and email them.
Right.
And do that piece as well. That's amazing.
Another step.
Exactly. Just add one more piece. I absolutely agree with you that where the economy is going is definitely on an outsourced basis. You see the millennials more and more having multiple gigs, side gigs, primary gig. That's just kind of their mentality that I don't want to go to work for just one company. I want to go to work for me. And how do I do this? And it's a global economy now. I think one of the things that the president's going to have a difficult time in his tenure in the United States for the next 4 years is how to bring jobs back to America, because I think so much of this is getting outsourced. Yes, some in the United States, some out of the United States, but that's where the economy is moving. It's like wherever people are and have a computer, have a connection, this stuff is going all over the world. It's viral.
Certainly. No, people are, like I said, communication technology has improved more than ever. I mean, Skype and Slack and communication platforms and screencasting, which is an amazing tool, highly recommend, which we can talk about. And then just the whole corporate stability is not there like it used to be, and people are able to rapidly build skills faster than they ever have been before to do virtual type work, whether it's graphic design or web development work or data mining type things. Those walls are coming down, and people just they prefer the flexibility that the freelancer life kind of allows. And for example, and it's not, that's one of the misconceptions that I talk about too when we're doing our course, is that it's all not just purely international. I mean, it definitely is a lot of folks in the United States. And we have a stay-at-home mom in Baltimore who's an unbelievable content writer for us. She actually has a tutoring business that she has, but she's a stay-at-home mom. And I mean, she writes unbelievable blog content, press releases, white papers. And we have another similar situation up in Boston we work with. A woman that was like corporately trained in graphic design and decided to set up her own home studio. Been using her for, 7 years now. And she cranks out white papers and infographics and guides for us, very low cost, very quick. Because that's one of the big advantages of using the freelancer market as well, is that you're getting highly skilled work, you're getting quick turnarounds and flexibility, you're getting variable cost. And that's the biggest thing for people in business, us. Whether you're starting a company or have an existing business, you don't necessarily need to hire a full-time person to do certain things, or you got to wait until you can afford a full-time salary. With this, whether it's outbound telemarketing services that you can buy in 20-hour blocks, or it's graphic design work or content writing or SEO or website development or anything, you can turn it on and turn it off. Use what you need, pay for it, and turn it off. And I think that the future of work for a lot of internal, especially when it comes to marketing operations staff, they're not going to be doing a lot of the work. They're going to become kind of a maestro over an orchestra of highly skilled individuals who will be doing the work, almost kind of like the contractor subcontractor mentality. And we work with a lot of marketing directors now that we teach, and they take our course and train on it. So instead of them hiring a bunch of people internally to sit there in a corner and post on social media and write blogs, is they now empower a team to learn how to build a global team of video developers and graphic designers and content writers and the whole range. We had a company here in Atlanta we were working with that's in the watch industry, and they had someone internally that was writing blogs, and we ended up teaching them how to use freelancers, and they found this amazing guy in New Zealand of all places that was super passionate about watches, an incredible blog writer, and for a fraction of the cost was able to crank out content for them so that staff could now focus on managing a team of people to get 10 times the amount of stuff done than them doing it themselves. So it comes back to leveraging your time, your money, and your resources, whether you're starting a company trying to get it out of the ground or you're trying to grow a business. You got to make dollars and time stretch as far as possible.
Every peak performer that has ever lived or will live does one thing extremely well. They know how to take their ideas and execute on them. Ideas and knowledge are not power, but the ability to execute on them, that is real power. If you consider yourself a peak performer and really want to take your game to the next level and truly master the science of execution, I would like to send you some information about our upcoming event, Business Execution Summit. Simply take your phone and text the word BE Summit, one word, to 41411. And I'll send you some additional information on how to master the most important skill you will ever acquire for your life or your business. So let's talk about that leveraging. What do you say to the guy or the girl that has their business? They might be a solopreneur, and they're just buried in all kinds of different things. Is there someone that they can go to be that focal point that will be basically the focal point for all the different services that they need to get?
Well, I mean, there's, some of the platforms have talent specialists if you pay a premium on them, and they will actually research and find people for you a lot of times. So if you're an existing business and you're wanting to engage this process and you want to have someone find those people for you, like I said, you can pay a premium fee, and some of them will provide that service, or you just hire. You hire someone, you hire a young, energetic individual that's hungry to learn, and for a pretty low cost, or even an intern. I mean, I've had this happen multiple times. I work with companies, and like with this online course that we've developed, I'm like, look, hire this person with this profile that's A-type, high energy, interested in, wants to learn kind of the new innovative ways to be a modern marketer, and put them through this course, teach them all A to Z, all the case studies, and they will be empowered now to leverage these platforms to do whatever you need internally. We've got this, one German company we were working with recently, and they just did that. They hired an intern, got the course that we provided, and this young man they're working with now, just completely opened his eyes of all the stuff he could get done. And now he's getting, outbound telemarketing done for their sales teams. He's getting graphics design and brochures and literature done. And so he's now empowered to get a bunch of stuff cranked through the pipe that wouldn't have gotten done otherwise.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about that. You're right. Bring somebody in. They don't even have to be full-time, but if you've got somebody on your team acting as that focal point, and you could do that pretty cheap, as you just mentioned, then just have them act and grab the services online. I love it.
Yeah, the skill set's out there, and I've found that especially you would think that a lot of the younger generation would it'd be second nature to them to know a lot of these platforms. But I tell you, I speak to a lot of groups and entrepreneur groups and younger folks and older, and literally across all of them, less than 10% of the time they raise their hand when I say, how many of you have heard of X, Y, and Z? And so a lot of them just aren't familiar, but you teach them, they did grow up with technology and they're very familiar with it. And it doesn't, younger or older, just anybody who's got a passion for learning and can quickly pick up things. You teach them these platforms, and it just will literally redefine how they execute.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter @ThorConklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.
That brings us to the end of another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast. Be on the lookout for part 3 with Brad Stevens, where he'll tell us all about tools that fuel business growth. And Thor and Brad will discuss leveraging marketing techniques. That's juicy information indeed on the Peak Performers Podcast. We'll see you at the top.